In my mind, it just seemed like it was something that was going to be really challenging to try to pull off. I'm just going to be sharing about how the Greb family ended up at Family DTS, how we found our way to YWAM-Tyler in 2019. I can go back maybe about 3 years, a little bit over 3 years now. My wife was at I think it was a Christmas party.
I was at my friend Megan's house, and I learned while I was there, and her mom was there too, that her family had done a DTS when she was about 10 or 11. And I thought that was amazing. So I heard about the 3 months of lecture and the 2 months of outreach, and I just thought that would be incredible. But how in the world do you get the money for that, and how in the world do you have the time for that, like a normal person?
But I think a seed was sown at that time regarding doing a DTS as a family.
You just, when you hear these stories, you think, well, if they can do it, then maybe, I don't know, maybe we could. So it kind of stayed there, and life was moving, and we were super involved in our church, and Neil was teaching at the kids' school, and it was a great school, great church, great community. We were near our family. Life was good.
My wife and I had always wanted to do something missional with our family, and we wanted it to be really meaningful, and we wanted it to be more than just taking our children on kind of the garden variety church, like week-long missions trip. We wanted it to be longer, hopefully, and just a little bit just bigger in scope, I think.
So fast forward to the end of 2018, and I think it was actually in December that I just was looking up Family DTS. I was Googling it, and YWAM-Tyler came up, and so I said I wanted more information, and they called me, and I don't even know who I talked to, but super nice people. And so I just started kind of letting that idea and that dream grow a little bit more. We were kind of coming into a season of transition, we felt, and so it just seemed like a good time to look into all of the different options.
I was teaching at a private school, and some things were changing at the school, and it just looked like I was probably not going to be back at the school for the next school year. Our children all went to that school, and so we started thinking about transition for our family. So at the beginning of 2019, Amy and I got to get away for a couple days, and we had done this before in our marriage, but we were, I think, just this particular time, and looking back on it now, I think it was just really the Lord, I think, showing us that we needed to be more intentional, to get away and actually seek Him, and to journal and to reflect back on our previous year, 2018, kind of looking forward to 2019 and maybe what the Lord had for us in 2019. So that sort of, I would say, laid the groundwork for our year. It was a great way to start the year.
Finally, in the spring, we had realized that Neil was not going to be returning to his job as a teacher at the school, which meant that the kids were probably not going there either, and we were just facing big changes of family. So
Chad and Crystal Freeman wanted to have a phone call together with Amy and I, just to talk about details, tell us their story about how they came to Family DTS and their ministry here at YWAM-Tyler. So on a Saturday afternoon in early April of 2019, the four of us had a phone conversation.
And it was more than just me having the conversations. Now Neil was in on it too and asking his own questions. And
they prayed with us on the phone and just left us to kind of continue praying about it and thinking about it.
I mean, I was sold on this YWAM idea like 3.5 years ago. So I was just kind of waiting for Neil to like come to a place where he was just ready to say yes. And in that conversation, I don't even remember. I think it was just like a realization that the timing could actually work for our family.
So I actually had kind of time by myself to process this, driving in the car and to think about our conversation that we had that day. And later that evening, Amy and I were able to reconnect after the kids went to bed and talk about our phone conversation we had.
He just said, I think this is our yes moment. And so we just said, okay, let's do this. So that involved selling our house. That was how we were gonna fund this whole process. And we believe that that's what the Lord wanted us to do. We had a lot of equity in our house, and so we would be able to do this kind of short time frame turnaround if the house sells. And that was gonna be kind of the confirmation.
I think from that night until the time we were leaving, we had about 11 weeks to get our house ready, to sell our house, to go through that whole process, to pack up our house, and to move, essentially, from Michigan to Texas.
We put it on the market on April 30th, and it sold that very same day to an amazing family. We felt like that was the icing on the cake, and it just felt like confirmation, like this is where I am calling your family.
And it was amazing to see how the Lord was faithful to us during that time. All we had to do was say yes to what we felt like He was calling us to do, and He did. He took care of all of the details.
It was a lot of work. It was, even looking back on that season, there was just so much grace over us, over our family, over all of the things that we had to do. Neil was coaching golf in the middle of this, and we were teaching classes at church, and we had a lot of things going on besides just like getting ready to transition our family into something totally brand new and move from one state to another. But the Lord just had His hand on all of it and His grace on it, and it was amazing. We couldn't have done it without His hand on it.
So yeah, late June of 2019, we had our car packed up in a cargo trailer and trekked down to Texas for Family DTS, which I think started July 1st last year. I guess the rest is sort of history forward. But in our minds, we knew we were supposed to do this, and we knew any questions we had, we would just find out when we got here. Within the first probably week or two, we just knew we were smack dab in the middle of God's will for our lives at this moment in our lives. We just had such a peace about being here.
That's how we got here, and it's been amazing.
No.